I want to say one thing to the American people.
Monica Lewinksy is now talking in a tell-all article.
I did not have sexual relations with that woman.
Finally breaking her silence.
These allegations are false.
I engaged in conduct that was wrong.
A flurry of salaciousness.
Inappropriate, intimate contact.
There were moments that were crushing and damaging.
It's unfortunate and wrong conduct.
Monica Lewinksy is now speaking out after a decade of near silence.
But I knew that the minute there was no longer any contact, she would talk about this. She would have to. She couldn't help it.
I'd be lying if I said I wasn't angry some days.
This is a story about how you survive deep humiliation.
Oh, there was that beret. Tonight, the nation's most infamous mistress is out of hiding and spilling her guts. Again, Monica Lewinksy wants to, quote, burn the beret and bury the blue dress. Really? She's coming clean with an explosive new tell-all article in Vanity Fair. 16 long years ago, the then White House intern had an Oval Office romp with the then president, Bill Clinton, that turned Washington upside down, brought us some unforgettable moments like this.
It depends upon what the meaning of the word is. If is means is and never has been, that's one thing. If it means there is none, that was a completely true statement.
A classic gem that went down in history. In this new article, Monica Lewinksy writes, I myself deeply regret what happened between me and President Clinton. Let me say it again. I myself deeply regret what happened. Sure, my boss took advantage of me, but I will always remain firm. It was a consensual relationship. So she's owning that. Give her props for that. Lewinksy now says she's ready to give her past a purpose by helping other people who have suffered global humiliation. She's been quiet for a decade. Why now? She suggests she wants to leave the scandal behind, but this article puts her right back on the front page. So are her intentions pure? Purely to help other humiliated people? Or, John Murray, editor-in-chief, alwaysalist.com, is this just a desperate grab for another 15 minutes of fame and maybe a payday down the road?
Well, no, Jane, because this woman doesn't need 15 minutes of fame. She has one of the most famous names in history, and she's lived in obscurity for a decade. And if it was about money, she could have made money 10 years ago. I mean, she turned down a $10 million book deal. She could have told a tell-all. She could have put out a line of blue dresses. She could have put out a line of lipstick. Because remember, the lipstick that she wore during the Barbara Walters interview sold out like crazy. She could have endorsed Cuban cigars, for God's sakes, if it was about money. But this woman wants to take ownership of her past and help other people. And in the age of the internet where people are killing themselves over scandals, she might actually be doing a lot of good.
All right, so you think her motives are pure. All right, Monica says the suicide of Tyler Clementi about 4 years ago had a huge impact on her decision to come out of hiding. Tyler Clementi was the 18-year-old Rutgers freshman who was secretly recorded on a webcam kissing another man. And, he committed suicide over that. Lewinksy says his tragic death brought back a rush of very painful memories for her. And she recalls that after the Clinton scandal, her mom had to stay by her bed night after night because, quote, I was too suicidally afraid that I would take my own life. A fear that I would be literally humiliated to death. I was possibly the first person whose global humiliation was driven by the internet. Pete Dominick, SiriusXM host. Listen, I sense self-pity here, and I'm not trying to criticize her. It's a free country. She has a right to speak out. She went through something that was definitely unpleasant, but I do sense that she's still trying to say, poor me, poor me.
Unpleasant, Jane? That's got to be the understatement of the night. Unpleasant? She was a victim here of the most powerful man in the world.
She was an adult who had an affair with a married man, and she was 24 at the time, and she says that it was consensual.
She was taken advantage
of by her boss.
But
it wasn't like she was attacked by a predator.
Of course not, and I'm not saying that. It happens every day in the workplace where senior vice presidents take advantage of young women and young men. It was consensual, but listen, this did ruin her life. She has a great opportunity right now. President Clinton gets like $400,000 for speeches. Monica Lewinksy should go on the speaking circuit and help those who have been bullied. She's the original victim of online bullying. She was called everything. She can go out there. People make mistakes. She made a mistake. She is going to turn that into something positive, and that is something we should applaud.
I don't applaud it or not applaud it. I say it is what it is, but I'm trying to figure out the intention, because to me, and I'll go to Dr. Judy Ho on this, it all boils down to intention. If her intentions are pure, I say go for it, girl. But if she is still having a pity party, if she's after some kind of revenge against Bill and Hillary, if this is all about 2016, you know what I'm talking about, we don't have to go there, then I say it's a little tainted.
And I do believe that it's a little tainted, Jane, because there are a lot of times when she actually really embraced the media and really was relishing the attention. And now she's quoted as saying that she's been globally humiliated. I just don't know if I buy it, because then she's posing these sexy pictures. Clearly, she wants that image still to America. And by this book coming out, that image will be forever cemented in the minds of American people. So I really believe that the motive is not completely pure here.
It's crazy to hear women talk this way.
Of course it's not.
And I'm with you, because you would think that we would be the ones taking that stand.
It's crazy to hear women. It's crazy.
We're not all the same. We're not all the same.
You guys are being naive. You guys are being naive.
No, here's the thing.
Hold on, let her speak.
This is a 40-year-old woman. This is a 40-year-old woman who's now more savvy. When this happened, she was 24. Now she sees the value in where she can take this. This Vanity Fair article is simply Monica Lewinksy dipping her toe in to see if there is still media attention and this will gain traction as Hillary probably mounts a presidential run for 2016. Now, I'm not saying she's stupid for doing it. In fact, I think it's what she should have done a long time ago. I think her timing's better now, and we'll watch her capitalize on this in a new way.
Well, to this point, let me play this clip, and then we'll get you back, Jawn Murray. It's been 12 years since she did a major interview. You probably remember this. She opened up about her affair with Bill Clinton on Larry King Live. Let's go back in time.
I was a 22-year-old foolish kid, and I think there was this charismatic, powerful man who was standing there showing interest in me, and I was attracted to him, and I think I was swept up, with the power of the presidency, and later found myself swept away by the government as a result of it. And here I am.
She's likable in that interview. Now, she says in this new article she turned down a $10 million offer, or offers, because she didn't feel it was the right thing to do. But let's face it, she's written a book, she sold handbags, she was a Jenny Craig pitch woman. But, Jawn Murray, she made money on some of those things. But she says now she can't get a real job because everybody who's being interviewed, they're interviewing for a job and they're like, well, your history, you're not exactly appropriate. She can't get a job.
Listen, Jane, how many times have I come on the show and we've talked about 20-something troubled people like Lindsay Lohan and Miley Cyrus, and we give them chance after chance and we root for them. This girl has been ridiculed. She's been ridiculed. She's been scorned. She has the most infamous name in history. Beyonce referenced her as an act in a song, and Bill Clinton is headed back to the White House. There's a gross double standard here, people.
Well, on the other side of the break, we're going to continue this debate, and I am going to suggest, could this be an addiction? I'll explain next.
My heart certainly doesn't beat like it used to, and I don't get excited. No, I'd be lying if I said I wasn't angry some days, but I really have worked hard to put a lot of the anger or disappointment in the past, and I've really worked on moving forward and kind of looking at my future.
That was her talking to Larry King 12 years ago. Now she's 40 years old. It's more than a decade later. She's still never gotten married, and who cares? I'm not married. But the point is that it doesn't seem like she has completely processed, and she's still going through some of the same issues. Xavier Jernigan, a pop culture expert. Here's my theory. I think that attention is addictive. She was at the center of global attention. Negative attention is not as good as positive attention, but in the end, it's like a drug. Attention is attention. And I think that she just needed to get a little more, because once you've got that drug, you can't totally let it go.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like to me. She's been off the scene for a long time. She can't really make money now. She should have taken that $10 million book deal when she had the chance. And now she's trying to get back on the scene. I respect the fact that she's trying to give back, but I definitely think she's just trying to be on the scene. People want their 15 minutes of fame. We see people doing all types of craziness to get their 15 minutes of fame. And she had about 10 minutes, so she's trying to get that last 5 minutes that she thinks she's owed.
Well, I think she got about an hour and a half of fame, but I just think once you get that in your bloodstream, you can't let it go, and your life feels very empty when you don't have it. Let's go out to the phone lines. Angela, Florida, thanks for your patience. What do you have to say? Angela, Florida.
Hi.
Hi.
Well, I just think Monica's just the same as most other women, that are victims. I've had something happen to me at work. I was a victim, and I love this. Hello, Monica, That's all I can say is, I feel for Monica. I do.
And why?
I feel for Monica because, she is the victim here, and that's how I've always looked at it. Like I said, I'm from the South. I'm not Scarlett O'Hara or anything like that, but I think I would have probably walked down that same path.
All right. Well, Dr. Judy Ho, I hear you're shaking your head. You don't think she's a victim?
No.
I don't think she's a victim, Jane. And Jane, to your point about her wanting attention, there's been tons of studies that show that our brain is activated in the same way by positive attention and negative attention. It is addictive either way. And of course, we prefer the positive, but if we can't get it, the negative attention is good too. And when somebody has been the center of media, whether it's controversy or not, there was all this attention around her. And now she doesn't have it. She wasn't able to sell her handbags anymore. She had to discontinue so many of her business ventures because of her past. So why isn't she trying to get back into it now? That's why I think this is all about attention.
And let me tell you something. Go ahead, Pete Dominic.
Why are we... this panel is reprehensible, the things that I'm hearing from a doctor who's also a female. I am really, really disappointed to hear women talking this way. Let me make a point. Let me make my point. We were given prep on this. The whole point of this, of her wanting to come back, is A, to reclaim her reputation, and B, to do good. She was bullied. She was inspired by this poor kid who killed himself. She has credibility, more credibility than anyone in the world on being bullied. She has every right to go out there and stand up for people who are bullied, and she should be getting paid for it, and she will do this, and I'm extremely proud of her.
So,
very
wait a second.
courageous.
You're saying she's going into the humiliation industry? Ebony K. Williams, is she going into the humiliation industry?
Of course, this is not bullying. Look, Monica is a victim of Monica's own bad choices and judgment. Now, I'm not saying I have no empathy for her. She was 24 years old. She made a poor decision as a young woman, and I think at 40 she would make a different choice. However, this is about also capitalizing and monetizing the only way she can. Her brand has been ruined by this, for better or worse.
Her brand?
But what she can
Her brand?
do is yes, this is
What
her brand.
brand?
The Monica
What
Lewinksy
brand?
Her brand is headed back to the White House. Her brand is headed back to the White House.
And people have capitalized over scandalous behavior, and that's what she's doing now. She
Jane,
missed out on
absolutely.
that.
Jane,
That's
if
what
Monica
missing out
Lewinksy was looking for attention, she'd have been on Dancing with the Stars, So You Think You Can Dance, and any other reality show. She hasn't done any of that. You guys are talking about the wrong person. Maybe you haven't read, my name is Jawn. Maybe you've read the history on the wrong person. This woman was taken advantage of as an intern in the White House with the most powerful man in the world. And for you guys to say the things you're saying about her, it is reprehensible. Absolutely.
Monica Lewinksy needs to hire Olivia Pope.
She did, the real one.
Olivia Pope can help
Let me
Monica
tell you
Watch
something.
the clip.
There is a connection to Scandal on the other side. The hit TV show Scandal. Is it ripped from Monica Lewinsky's personal history book. Stay right there.